Without further ado, I want to get to these questions because some of the answers are going to take a little bit of time. So I hope you'll stick around. All right, let's get on with it. Okay, the first question, do you believe in ghosts? Yes, I do believe in ghosts. Well, I don't know if you call them ghosts. Well, I guess you would. Whether it be a ghost or some type of entity, I don't know. All I know is, as I tell you the story, then you can make your own assumption of what I believe it is. I don't know. I don't know myself. I just know that I went through it. Which leads us to question number 2. Do you have any personal paranormal ghost experiences that you can share? If no, what is your favorite ghost scary campfire story? Well, I don't need a story because what I'm about to tell you is real. I was either 7 or 8, and I should have looked before, but it was the year that President Kennedy was assassinated. And we moved to this house. It was a rental. We moved to this house. It was in Orange County, California, and it was my mother, my grandmother, and myself. And I had the first bedroom, and then there was another bedroom which was a playroom, and then my mother's room, my grandmother's room. So it had this long hallway. Well, to get, of course, my room was the first one, but every time, and the bathroom was beyond my bedroom, I guess I have to preface that. So every time I had to go to the restroom, I obviously have to go past that first bedroom, and it scared me to death, and I'm not kidding, and especially at night. I can't tell you, it's not that I saw anything, I did not see anything, but it's that feeling that came over me that was so strong. I mean, it was just almost an oppression of a feeling of, and it wasn't good. I mean, it scared me to death. And I would not want to sleep in my room. I remember they'd say, you need to go in your room and go to bed. And I'd go, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go in there. It scares me. And I remember it was such an ordeal for me to go to bed. It was crazy. And I would always end up crawling in bed with my grandmother. And she'd always go, what are you doing in here? And I would tell her, I'm afraid to be in there. And she said, don't be ridiculous. And they'd always want me to go back into that stupid room. Well, okay, so time went on, and one night all the kids were outside, and it was getting towards, it was either the end of September or the beginning of October, because I remember it was very close to right before the assassination happened. And all the kids were sitting out, and we were talking, and they said, you live in the haunted house. And I went, what? And as a little kid, because there were some older kids, I mean, not real old, I mean, but to me they were at the time. I mean, they were like 12, 13. And they said, you live in the haunted house. And I go, what do you mean? But I do remember when they said it, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm always scared of that one bedroom. But I was so young that I really didn't really, I guess, put it all together until I got older. But I guess in a sense I did. Well, as I go on with the story, you'll see. So I go, what do you mean I live in the haunted house? And they said, there was a guy killed in that house. And I said, what happened? Well, they started to tell me. Apparently, family, the mother and the father were deaf mutes. And the children could hear. The mom and dad went on vacation. The 2 older boys stayed home. The one brother had a friend over, they were drinking, got into a fight, the friend killed his brother, put him under the bed, which was my room, the one that I was always afraid to go into, and they took off. Well, parents come back from vacation, their son's been under this bed now, I don't know how long. I don't remember them ever telling me the length of time. Nevertheless, it was a pretty bad scene, apparently. And I remember there were wood floors, and I remember there was a big stain on the wood floor, and I remember my mom saying something about it, and as a kid, I really didn't think too much of it, but then as years passed and we would talk about this particular situation, we started to realize what had happened, what was blood. So I went home and I remember telling them, and they said, "Oh, Davida, you know, the kids are just trying to scare you." And I said, "I'm telling you, they said someone died." So unbeknownst to me, they had gotten in contact with the landlord. And no, I'm going ahead of myself. My mother was cleaning one day and she was wiping the wall, and when she wiped the wall, and I don't know in the early 60s if the paint wasn't as good as it is nowadays, don't know. All I know is she said she was wiping the wall, and as she wiped it, she started to see spots. And so she wiped it a little bit more and she saw more spots. Well, she remembered what I had said to her, so she called the landlord, told him the story. And she said, and at that time, I don't think that they had to disclose if something had happened in a place that you're living in. And he did admit to her, yes, there was a murder in the house. And then he told her the story where the parents were gone, and the brother's friend killed his other brother, and they were drunk. And and he said, yes, it is true. All I remember is it was shortly after that, and I remember we had Thanksgiving at the house, again, because I remember President Kennedy, I remember watching that whole thing, coming home from school when it happened and all of that. Christmas was there, I remember that. And then I believe it was right after that, shortly after that we moved. So I am surmising, I don't remember ever asking about it, but I'm surmising that they left because of that situation. All I can say is, before I knew anything of what those kids told me, moving into that house, I had such a foreboding feeling about that room. And I was very young at the time. I mean, I was only 7 or 8 years old. But I was so scared every time. And I remember, and honest to God, I'm telling you the truth, I would run past that room at night. I would run. I wouldn't even look at it. I mean, that's how scared I was of that room. So, in answer to that question, yes, I have experienced it. Number 3, what is your favorite Halloween or scary movie? Definitely the original Halloween with Michael Myers. And I'm going to have to say one more. The Halloween H2O, which was the last of the series of the Halloween movies. I didn't care about the ones in between, but those two I watch every year. Actually, I just watched them like 2 weeks ago. Do you believe in the afterlife and angels? Yes, I definitely believe in the afterlife, and I definitely believe in angels. What is your favorite TV show or movie that features angels or the afterlife theme? What did I put down for that? That's right, The Medium, with Patricia Arquette, I believe it was. Loved that show. Do you have a personal story that illustrates the possible existence of angels or the afterlife, guardian angel, near-death sighting, or recently passed loved one? This one, what did I put down for that? Yes, okay, I had to think. When I used to work at the grocery store, I used to have to get up really early in the morning. Well, the one street that actually it was quite a ways. It was like probably about 25 minutes to get there. But it was a very busy street and very congested all the time. And there were 4 times that I can remember specifically that I would be ready to go to work, and I would have to I would forget something, or I had to go back into the house. And as I was driving to work, 4 different times, now I'm talking a span of 4 years, but every single time that I was delayed in having to get out of my car to go back into the house or whatever, there was a horrific accident. And had I been there, just minutes earlier, I very well could have been involved in the accident. So I do believe that I did have a guardian angel. One other time, it was in August, it was the last, not this past, but the last Summer Olympics. I live in California, and in August it's very hot, and I had just gotten home from work. It was 10 o'clock at night, and I always left my sliding glass door open, always. And this one particular night, I didn't, and I don't even know why I didn't, but I didn't. And I shut it, and I sat down to watch some of the Olympics. And I remember hearing something, and it was like a scratching, and I live in a canyon where, you know, there's wildlife, and we do have raccoons and coyotes and stuff, so I thought, oh, it's a raccoon. And at the time I didn't have dogs, I only had a cat, but I remember Mocha kind of sitting up, and she got spooked, and she looked over at the window. I still didn't think anything. So I kept sitting there, and I got up, and when I got up, the lights were on, and you know when the lights are on at night and you can't see out so much because the reflection of yourself, because the lights are on, you can't see really good outside. But I thought I saw something run past me. And again, I thought, oh, it's just, you know, it's my imagination. I didn't think too much of it, because I wasn't sure. I just thought I saw something out of my peripheral go past me. So, got done watching the Olympics, went to bed. The next morning I got up to go to work, and I looked out, and all the screens were off in my backyard. And where I was sitting, the screen was off, right, like it would be right here in the other room. I was sitting right in front of the window, and the screen was off. So I called my husband, I said, did you take the screens off for some reason? And he said, no. And I said, well, all the screens were off. And he said, you need to go outside and look. Well, thank you very much. What if someone's there? Kidding. I mean, of course it was the next day. Anyway, I went out, every single screen was off. Called the police came out, said, you know, that doesn't look like there was any forced, you know, trying a forced entry or whatever. And just as he was saying that, the sun came in just right, and I could see handprints on the window. And I said, do you see that? And he looked and he goes, no. And I thought, dear God, you're a policeman and I'm seeing this? I'm sorry, but I was so mad at that point. So I said, look, come over here and look. And so he did, and he goes, well, have you or, you know, any family member been out? Were you cleaning windows? And I said, I'm telling you, nobody was out here. Nobody was out here. And I said, can you do me a favor? Go call your supervisor, because I want something done about this, because I'm seeing handprints and I know none of my family was out here. So he went out, they had forensics come out, she dusted everything. Sure enough, you guys, it was so weird. There were handprints all over every window. And this is bizarre. She was so good that she said he is probably, I would say he's Caucasian, probably about 6'2", and no doubt he was on drugs. She said, you can tell by the way he was sweating how his hands slipped. I can tell by when I'm dusting how he kept trying, but the hands, you know, he was sweating. And you know, I thought, God, how would she know this just by dusting something? And so anyway, long story short, a few weeks went by. Sure enough, they caught him. They caught him. It was his second offense. He was 21 years old, Caucasian. Everything she said was exactly spot on. And what she said to me was, because I had told her, I said, what freaks me out is I always leave the sliding glass door open when I come home because it's hot. And I said, for whatever reason, I didn't that night. And she said, had you not, I would have been coming to a very different situation. She said, because this guy was determined to get into this house. Keep in mind, he was able to see me because where I was sitting, I have 16 feet of windows that have no curtains. They just have a valance. So where I was sitting, because my kitchen and my family room are joined, and that's where he was trying to get in, I was sitting right there. He could see me. He could see me perfectly. So it wasn't like he didn't know that someone was there. He knew, but he still wanted to get in. Well, I found out later that he, after, I guess, trying here, he went down the embankment and he went to another house. Well, that person had a alarm, and when the alarm went off, the guy ran downstairs and he went after him. Didn't get him, but went after him. So it wasn't like he was trying just one house, he tried others. So with that being said, I do believe somebody was looking after me, because to this day, I always think to myself, there was nothing that made me say, oh, maybe you better just lock. I just did. And so I do believe that there was an angel looking over me. So that's that. I told you this was going to be a long one, didn't I? Okay, number 7. Do you believe that people can have the gift of sight? Are mediums, have sixth sense? If you do you have any personal stories that you would like to share? When my kids, my oldest he was in 5th grade, and I had younger ones as well. Well, I had 3 boys, and the boys shared one room, and there were 2 bunk beds and then a single bed, kind of like the Brady Bunch. If you watch the Brady Bunch, how the boys, shared a room and the setup, well, that's kind of what this was. And 2 of the bunk beds were against the wall. So this particular morning I was making breakfast, and my mother called me on the phone, and it was early, and for her to call me like that was not usual. And she told me, she said, Davida, you need to check the boys' room against the wall. I had a dream, and I dreamt that the wall caught on fire, and the beds and everything were taken out, and they died. And I thought, okay, I'll check them later. I'm busy getting the kids ready for school. At this point, I had 3 kids in school, and I had 1 infant. So, in all honesty, I didn't think much more about it, and I thought, okay, whatever. So later on in the morning, I went in to make their beds, and when I went in to make their beds, you know how when you have bunk beds or a bed against the wall, when you're making it and you're smoothing out the comforter, and you put your hand down against the wall and that to, smooth it down. When I did that, my hand went across the socket and it burnt my hand. And then I felt it again, and it was so hot, and it was right against the comforter of the bunk beds. I called the fire department. I had 4 firemen in this small bedroom. No joke, I'm not lying. They turned off, they went outside into the, oh come on, where you can turn off electricity, where if you blow something, you have to go back out and flip the things back up. I can't think right now what they are, but anyway, they turned it off, the electricity into the bedroom. And the one fireman said, it's a good thing that you caught that, because had you not, he said, it would have kept going, he said, and no doubt this whole wall would have went up in flames. I'm telling you the truth. This is what I'm saying. In my family, there are things like this where they know or they feel it, and or premonition, whatever you want to call it, and it happens. Okay. So, with that being said, yes, I do believe in that, and it has happened to me. This is freaky. This just happened probably 8 months ago. I woke up from a sound sleep. And it had to do with my youngest daughter, and I really believed God was showing me this. And I remember hearing, you need to tell her to check her wall, because basically the same thing that happened with my boys years prior. And the wall, there's something wrong with the electrical, and something's going to happen. Well, the time my granddaughter was just, I think she was like 4 months old, and she wasn't sleeping, and my daughter wasn't sleeping, and I thought, what do I do? If I call and I am just thinking this myself, or whatever the case is, and and I wake her up and she hasn't been able to sleep, she's going to think I am completely out of my mind calling her. And at this time, I think it was 2:30 or 3 in the morning. And I thought, oh, and I kept wrestling with it. I thought, oh my God, should I? Because I remembered when, I'm thinking of this, and I'm thinking when my mother had talked to me in the morning, and I thought, God, what do I do? And I ended up not calling her. True story. I go the next day over to her house. I sit down, we're talking, we're having coffee, and she said, the weirdest thing happened last night. I stopped her before she said anything else because I didn't want her to think I was saying something, I don't know what I was thinking, but I knew immediately when she said that, it's what I was thinking. What I felt God was showing me. And I said, don't say anything else. I said, did it have to do with the wall with the electricity? And she looked at me and she goes, oh my gosh. And I went, oh my gosh, I knew, oh my God. I knew I should have called you. And she said, what? And I said, okay. I woke up and I knew something was wrong with the electrical, and it was the wall. Now, at this time, I didn't know what wall. I just knew something was wrong with the electrical on the wall, and I didn't know why, anything. She had gotten up to change my granddaughter. She went to get the wipe out of because she had a warmer for the wipes, plug in. She went to go get the wipe, and when she did, her hand, when she opened it, she opened up the container. Well, her hand hit the socket, slipped in and hit the socket, and the socket was burning hot. She right away She right away woke up. Her husband, he came out, they unplugged it. Her dad went over the next day, took off the plate of the wall, how you have the plates on there where you plug it in, turned it off, and he said, it's a good thing you caught this because it would have went up. Think what you will. This is true stories. This is not made up. It's true. So, yes, I do believe that my family, we do get these, not so much, well, I don't know if you call it a premonition. Well, yeah, I guess it is a premonition. Yes, I guess it is. So yes, we do. Number 8, what is your favorite movie or TV show that is about psychics? I used to love The Mentalist, and I loved him. He was very easy on the eyes. Very good show. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, I do, because I think I am one. When I was born, now keep in mind this was in the 50s, they didn't have all the technology they do now, but as I became older, where I was crawling, I would drag my leg, the one leg, and I'd drag the other, and they didn't know, what was going on per se. They didn't have MRIs or anything like that. They did take an x-ray, and I don't know what they saw in the x-ray, but the doctor told my mother that I would never walk, and that I would need a brace, to walk with a brace. And so my uncle came home from the Navy. He was on leave. He came home from the Navy, and she was all upset and told him what was going on. And he said, she's going to walk. And she said, George, the doctor told me she's not going to walk. And he said, she will walk. And so she said he would manipulate my hip. I don't know how he did it. I don't know. I have no idea. And she said I would scream bloody murder. And so he did that, religiously. And so one day I was crying, I guess. I don't know if I was in pain or, I was very young. I was only like a year and a half now at this point. From crawling, trying, I couldn't stand up. I guess I hurt. I don't know. All I know is when I crawled, I dragged my leg and I couldn't walk as I got a little bit older. And so he did that massaging or technique, whatever he did. And so one day he said, stand her up. And she stood me up, and she said they heard a pop. And after that, I started walking. So whatever was wrong, I don't know. Like I said, we didn't have the technology that we do today. I'm sure they would have been able to tell exactly what it was, and they probably could have done something to make a child have the ability to walk. At that time, apparently not. So I'm going to go with a miracle. And number 10, have you ever experienced a miracle or known of one personally? If yes, would you like to share the story? I guess I just did. So, anyway, I hope that I didn't put you all to sleep, but I really, really enjoyed this tag. Heidi, thank you so much. I love these women that I've gotten to know. They are the mature women. It's women that have gotten together, and they're women from 45 on. Myself being 61, these women, well, the ones I've known now are in their 50s and 60s, and there are a couple in their 70s. But they're wonderful. I mean, they're wonderful women, and it doesn't matter how old, you get. You still like that camaraderie with women, and it's just it's a number. It really is a number, because in my mind, I don't think of myself as 61. I really don't. And it's until I go into the mirror and I go, uh-oh, something happened. Something happened. What's going on here? Then it's like reality. I'm half kidding, but to some extent serious. But in your mind's eye, you're not 61. In my mind, I'm still, 35, 40 years old in my thinking and what I want to do and having fun. And just getting together with these women has been so uplifting and just given me a new lease on life. I enjoy them thoroughly, love them all, and so glad that I've gotten to know them. And without YouTube, it never would have happened. So anyway, I hope that this wasn't too boring. Like I said, the things I told you are, honest to God, the truth, and take away from it what you will. But I just really enjoyed doing this tag. I really did, and I want to thank you so much, Heidi, for doing this tag. And I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend and a wonderful Halloween. And I hope that the ladies that I tagged will do this tag. And until next time, remember, this world's a better place because you're in it. Bye for now.